Hello! Today I'm going to be looking at what's in this little box, but just before we get into that, a quick reminder, please like or dislike this video if you didn't like it, comment down below, don't forget to subscribe, and if you can find that little bell icon, click on it, it might tell you when I'm uploading stuff. So, what have we got today? Very excitingly, this is the Rush Tank 2 Ultimate. I loved the original Rush tank. It went onto my Nazgul 5 here, and the picture improved massively over the VTX that was in there. I mean, it was enormously better. I've also coupled that with one of the RushFPV cherry antennas, which are also very good. So I'm expecting great things out of it. As far as the specs go, I don't think they've changed an awful lot. This now runs from 736 volts, so up to 8S. And interestingly, they sent me this extra little thing. In here is a tiny little microphone, which will solder onto the back of the board, and it looks like this. It's tiddly, you can't really see it. We'll have to go close up for that one. I've always been interested to see if we can have a microphone that sounds a bit like a GoPro. When people talk about the right sound from their quads, what a GoPro records is nice. Normally on a VTX, if you have an inbuilt microphone, basically you get wind noise and what just sounds like an angry wasp stuck in your head. I don't know if this is supposed to be good, but it's worth trying it and see what happens. Anyway, I'll tell you what's in here. This is the Tank 2 Ultimate itself. It's got a connector there. It's got solder pads there if you prefer. And these 3 solder pads up the top there are where the microphone connects. The original Tank Ultra had an optional, so it sort of came as just the VTX and you could stick it onto the mounting plate if you wanted, but it looks like they've gone fully mounting now. Also in there is a little connector and cables to hook up. Hopefully it's going to use the same connector as last time, because what I can do is just plug it straight into this and see how it works. And you also get this MMCX to SMA adapter with this little O-ring thing that kind of goes over there and creates this little sort of gap, I think. Anyway, let's have a quick looking close up to show you what I'm going to do, and then I'll get that microphone installed, and then we'll get it in this quad. I think this quad, maybe another quad. I've got 2 of these, so I might put another one as well just to check. And we'll see what we get. Let's check it out. Okay, so here's the close up, just a bit more detail. You see I've got the right angled MMCX on, and that's that little sort of O-ring there. This is the connector that comes with it. But as I said, you've got here the, just find the angle that works. You can just about read that. Got the DC ground, data, 5 volt ground, and VIO, or video input I guess. And these are the other pins that are important. We've got here audio, 5 volt and ground. And these basically conform to the tiny little microphone here. You see we've got that ground, 5 volt and audio. All we pretty much do is plonk it on like that and solder the points together, and it's fairly low profile. It just sit on there like that, and obviously we need to make sure the standoffs are just high enough not to get that in the way. I'm hoping, because this is kind of underneath and protected, it's not going to get all sort of swishy wind noises, but I've no idea if that's going to work or not. What I'll do though is I'll get that soldered on, and then we'll get it fitted in the Nazgul for starters and see how we fare. Hopefully, I'm not sure, it's going to have the same connector and the same pin order, so I can just swap it out easy. That's me really, anything for an easy life. So let's go do that now. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've soldered in the little microphone there. Hopefully that's okay. Not the best soldering, not quite flat, and I'm a little bit worried that it adds a little bit of space there, so I'll have to just double check that. I took the top off my Nazgul 5, thinking that these would be pretty easy to replace, but there are a couple of key differences here. You'll notice the spot where the connector for everything goes in is different. We've also got the MMCX at the end there, and in here we've got the MMCX on the side. So I think at the very least we'll have to use the right angled MMCX connector and pass that one out instead. But on the plus side, the cabling is the same pin order, so I should be able to reuse that. Anyway, I'll get on with that and swap that out now. Hopefully that's going to be relatively simple. It feels not quite as clean as this one though, because at the end of the day I'm going to have something coming out the side instead of the front and back, which seems a bit cleaner. Okay, done. A little bit fiddly, because in order to get extra room to clear the microphone, I had to put these little extra screws on to act as little risers, and then I didn't have much thread there, so I had to kind of compress these little things a little bit just to make sure it fitted in. So that
just clears the flight control of the microphone now. Not the best position for it. We also had the slight issue that the MFCX adapter here coming out at a right angle means I can't put a screw in that bit, but I've got 3 in, so that should be okay. Not a problem with this bit. It doesn't come out the sides at all because this is of course slightly recessed back from the main size of the ball, so that's cool. This was a bit different. I've just left the antenna off here because you can see the different type of mounting this has. If we look at the one I just took off, you see it's got the longer SMA adapter with the screw to basically screw down on that and keep it, but this has got a much shorter thread, so you have to secure it with a couple of screws there. Fortunately, this mounting already had the holes for it, so I can just go ahead and pop the antenna on as per normal, like that. There we go. So I'll put the top on and we'll go and fly it and see how it does.
Hello, it's another gorgeous day at the field and another rather sweaty me having just hiked here again, but hey, I've got my cardio in once I get back anyway. Anyway, we've got the Tiny Tank 2 Ultra. Is it the Ultra? I don't know what it is. It's the Tiny Tank 2 something installed in the Nautical 5 ready to fly. I've got the option of putting my GoPro in here. Won't be doing it for starters because one thing I like to do is basically show you the DVR footage. It's no good showing you the GoPro footage on a VTX test, is it? But I'll be going up the end of the field, which is about 550 meters, and coming back round, and I want to test it in multiple powers. So this goes 25, 200, 400, 800. So we'll try them all out, see how it goes. Maybe at the end I can get in a bit of a GoPro flight. Maybe I can follow that hawk up there, which is either a red kite or some sort of buzzard. That would be quite cool as well, wouldn't it? Anyway, let's get on with it. So yeah, we're off in 25 milliwatts, and the first thing I wanted to show you is how the microphone picked the sound of the quad up. At the first 5 seconds I was like really impressed. It's like, yeah, I can hear my props, that's really good. And then we got the wind noise coming in, so it doesn't seem to protect against that. But we got some plans to do some extra things to see what we can sort out. But yeah, the microphone certainly works. It's fairly clean until you get going, and then you can get the wind in. So 25 milliwatts here. And we're at the sort of 500 meter mark. We're starting to get a little bit of the sort of the flickers of the interference, but holding up quite well. The Ratels are oversaturating a bit in the sunlight, I notice. It's a little bit redder than it should be. But as expected, a pretty clean signal, not without a little bit of noise there, but yeah, pretty good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go straight through these. So I'm going to land and then go up to 200 milliwatts. Okay, so here's pretty much that same flight again in 200 milliwatts, and I put a lot of stock in 200 milliwatts because it's the power I do tend to use. You can go a long way, and you won't get the sort of the breakup that you'd get at 25 when you get to a distance, and it should be fairly clean. And once again, I'm really liking the tank stuff. We do get a little bit of a flicker on that blueness of the sky there. I'm not sure if that's what that's down to, but it always seems to happen. But it looks pretty clean on the ground details, which is nice, and we've got a nice day out here. We're not getting any sort of sparkles even as we're going through the corner. That's a very clean signal, so that's looking really quite nice. Little bits of flickers here and there, little bits of noise, nothing too much. I'm pretty sure I could go an awful long way in this, and we're just going through the one single building. Yep, all good, not a problem. So I'm going to go straight on from that into the 500 milliwatt setting. This is on the same battery, and you know, I'm getting nice and low here, seeing what will happen. On these higher levels, after we get sort of 200 milliwatts, we're not getting any problems. I'm more looking for added sort of noise, because sometimes when you whack the power up, that can actually cause some more noise instead of getting cleaner. But this again is looking very consistent indeed. We're not getting any bad effects from whacking the power up. We're getting a nice clean signal again. It pretty much looks exactly the same as 200 milliwatts, because 200 milliwatts I felt could go an awful lot further, so 500 milliwatts not really having a problem. Seem to get that same area where we're getting this little bit of noise bars here. I'm trying to see if there's sort of anything in my way, maybe bits of stuff, but I don't know. You generally get little bits of oddities when you're in a field and stuff, but yeah, this is looking clean, it's looking good. And having arrived back to myself with a little bit of extra battery to burn through, I thought we'd take it sort of behind these trees and stuff and see what sort of signal we get when we're sort of pushing it a little bit and putting trees in the way. And I can't find my way through that one. But yeah, pretty much how I thought. We'd get a bit of interference because, you know, we're trying to go through trees, but we're managing to get through okay. You'll notice I just hit that branch there. More of that coming up later. Yep, that's looking good. So I'm going to take the power all the way up now to the 800 milliwatts to see how we do there. Okay, so power all the way up now at 800 milliwatts. Much more power than I'd normally use. And all I'm looking to see here is, am I getting any extra interference? Still getting that little bit of flicker on the blue sky, but everything else seems absolutely solid. To be fair, this is exactly what I expected. I've been a bit of a fan of the RushFPV VTXs since the first one I had, and certainly after I changed the original VTX I had in the Nazgul for the original Tank, what was it called? Tank Ultra Plus, I think. I was really swayed by them. That had such an improvement. So this isn't letting me down. Basically, we're getting more goodness of the same. So I'm super happy there, and I can't really recommend the RushFPV gear highly enough. It always seems very clean, very good. I'm a real fan. Really worth looking at the Cherry antennas too. When I put one on the quad the first time, I replaced one of the original Lollipop antennas, thinking this isn't going to get close to it, and it did better, quite frankly, and that was pretty amazing. Hadn't flown the Nazgul for a while, and in fact I hadn't flown many 5 inches for a while. I keep doing reviews of sort of toothpick style and smaller quads, so it's really nice to get out with something a bit more substantial. So I was really enjoying just basically flying around with this guy and really stretching my legs and doing a lot more speed than normal. It's just got so much more sort of inertia and weight feel to it, which is really nice to fly. So having done the VTX tests in all its powers, and you know, gone and flown around an awful lot, I thought, you know what, I'll change it back to 200 milliwatts because that's my norm, and I'll stick the GoPro on. I'll just have a couple of fun flights, and that's where things went a little bit wrong. So we're out flying, and I got the GoPro 7 Black on. I just wanted to show you what had happened to the fields that I used to fly in. Basically, they're now full of new build houses, so this is why I've had to keep changing where I'm flying, and I'm really worried that they're moving in towards this field. This is the last of the fields I've got, so fingers crossed. But I just wanted to show you what was happening and where I used to fly. And so I'm just having an awesome little old time, and I really enjoy sort of flying low and using some of those sort of big old weeds and funny plants as little things to fly around. This yellow one really caught my eye. It really stuck out a long way. And you know, you've probably seen me fly this an awful lot. All these sort of overhanging branches I'm quite used to. I'm flying them a lot. But do you remember that branch I just tagged earlier when I was flying? Well, it seems like I can't resist this one, and this is what happened. Now this one was buried pretty deep, but with the aid of the beeper I managed to get in there through the brambles, which hurt, and get the quad back. But the problem was that my little battery back beeper that I rubber band on the battery had come off and was still beeping. Quick status update. This is quite unbelievable. I've been searching in here, and you know, every single thing's fawny, getting cut up, and it's really loose earth. I think it's gone in somewhere. It should be really directional. I'm following the beeps, and then the beep kind of moves. If I didn't know better, I think a rabbit stole it and was just hopping about quite happily. But I may have to give this one up because I've been coming looking for the beep, which is usually really directional, but I just cannot find it. And this is bright yellow. It's in there somewhere. I cannot find it. That was the most difficult search ever. It was so frustrating because it's literally, I could hear it and I felt I was on top of it. And I literally was. There are so many layers of like grass and leaves and dirt and crap that it just took me forever. And I was literally digging away with this thing. But I think, you know, I've come off a bit worse there. I got hands cut up, arms not looking good. I ripped my t-shirt on the barbed wire trying to get there. But we got it back.
This doesn't seem too worse for wear. Props actually look alright. To say it had a big old whack, and GoPro's still filming good, so all good. I'll go finish off that flight, shall I?
So there's that old phrase about getting back on the horse. You know, you shouldn't ever be afraid of doing the same thing. So aside from, you know, flying around and getting the battery done, I came back round and I said, well, I'm going to do this again, not a problem. I've done this hundreds of times before, haven't hit anything. So what did I do? I hit the branch from the different direction and put it back in a tree once again. Once again, a very thorny bush. I had blood coming out of me getting this one, but we got it back and the beeper at least stayed on this time. Seriously, what is it today and massive thorn bushes, which I've just had to get that out of. Right, I think that'll do the Nazgul for now. I'm having great fun flying it, but I'm like running out of blood. So I think I'll stop for now, and good test of the VTX at least. Well, I think the Tank 2 Ultimate did very well, and the quad somehow came back without any proper damage. Even these props, they're scratched, but there's no nicks out of them. I'd fly it again. The only things I lost were the little antenna tubes to keep my little XM Plus antennas out the way. The only thing about this is I think I might change position, because you really don't get much of a clearance there. I might put them coming out the arms, which is kind of preferred in some of my other quads. A couple of things though, I felt, just checking on it, I was being a little bit unfair by comparing the Tank 2 Ultimate here to the original Tank Ultimate Plus, and that's because it's the Ultimate Plus. There's a subtle but actual difference between the Tank Ultimate Plus and the Tank Ultimate. The Tank Ultimate looks very much like the Tank Ultimate 2, so it's got the connectors in the same places, and it only did 7 to 25 volts, whereas the Ultimate Plus did 7 to 36 volts and actually has an inbuilt microphone here. So ignore the fact that I'm comparing to the Ultimate Plus, because it's a little bit unfair. I should be comparing to the Ultimate, but the Ultimate Plus is, I think, a better layout for stuff and already has that stuff in there. Maybe they're going to do a Tank 2 Ultimate Plus, and I'll be able to compare more directly. The other thing I missed out as well is they did a slight change on the connector. It's got this little hook, so when you plug in, it catches, so that can't just pull out. You have to actually sort of pop it up to get it out, which is better. I mean, I've never lost a VTX cable coming out before, but it's a good thing to have. The thing I will talk about is the microphone. Of course, the microphone's not there, so I can look back at my DVR footage and have a listen and say, isn't this wonderful listening to that? It's really for people that fly with headphones, so they can hear what their quad's doing. The people are absolutely split between this. If you use headphones to fly with, you can't fly without them. And if you're not using them, you're like, why would I want to? Just to hear this ee noise. But of course, you can hear a lot from your motors. I often think it's quite odd, because when I hear it in the field, there's a delay. There's a delay in it hearing you. So I'm pumping the throttle, and then like half a second later, I hear the motors spin up, and I was like, that's weird. So I've sort of taught myself to kind of ignore the noise completely, but people with headphones will want to hear this. However, I did feel it was better quality than a normal mic, perhaps because it's hidden out the way a bit. But we still did have that wind noise there, that sort of whoosh, whoosh, which is a shame. I wish we'd get rid of. When I listen to the stuff on the GoPro's so much cleaner, it manages to avoid that wind noise, perhaps because most of the camera is covered by this thing. So I thought what I might do is have another fly of this and pop a bit of foam just underneath the mic there, just to see if I can create a bit of a windshield so that gets out of the way. But yeah, overall performance is very good. The only things I didn't like, I've sort of described before. I didn't like that right angled adapter on this particular quad because I'm retrofitting, but of course if you were building from scratch, you'd sort of work out your positioning a bit better. I also felt that the microphone poked out a bit at the bottom, and I had to get the VTX up a little bit higher, which again didn't really go so well with the retrofit. You could plan around that. So that's why personally I'd prefer to use the original Ultimate Plus than that one, because it's laid out just perfectly for me, but you know, it depends on your quad. Anyway, this has been the Rush Tank 2 Ultimate and was kindly supplied for review by RushFPV. Although you can't seem to buy it from them directly still, hurry up Rush, sort your website out. So I'll put some links down below for where you can check this out yourself. Anyway, I hope that review's been helpful. I'll be back and trying the microphone out slightly differently to see how that goes. In the meantime, I'll catch you next one. Bye for now. Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.